The Roman Empire, the longest-lived empire in history and arguably the most historically impactful, began in 27 BC and lasted until 1453 AD. Throughout these millennia, it is still remarkable to historians how Rome was able to keep its empire intact and expand. Its military was for a long period of time the most formidable in the world, and its architecture was also unmatched. The combination of military expansion and development of arts is what led to its success. From building the largest church ever constructed to building the largest university in Europe and the second largest in the world, the Roman Empire invested a huge chunk of its budget on arts, monuments, architecture, and education. Here it is, the frontier of the border of the Roman Empire, the last border of the Roman Empire, which was in the north side. It's called the Hadrian Wall, and this is one special part of it, which is called the Bathouse. It's one of the best preserved bathhouses in all of the UK, and the reason behind this is because you can still see the intricate details of the sanitation, the infrastructure, the architecture, everything. You can see how it was made, and that's why it's so well preserved. People learn from this. And from a time so long ago, from 140 AD or 142 AD, it's not 100%, but around that time, it's a very impressive thing to do. As you walk around the bathhouse, you can really see how every single detail is being preserved. There's different rooms, every single room has a different purpose, and that's what they used to do. And for example, there was a cold room, which was basically, I don't know what they did. There's drainage systems, the sanitation systems are actually really nice, and it flows down, so there's no need for motors or anything for rotational mechanical stuff. This is the best that they've come up with of how it might have looked like, and this is how it looks like now. Still impressive. It's still very impressive. It's still very impressive because here it even says some of the rooms reached 40 degrees Celsius, and this did the job of keeping them warm in the really strong Scottish cold sometimes. Again, there's always a contrast to everything. For example, this in front of me is thousands of years old. However, just 2 steps away are buildings, which it's a very juxtaposition type of situation here. The northernmost extent of the Roman Empire was at first Hadrian's Wall in England, but was expanded with the construction of the Hadrian Wall in central Scotland by the Emperor Antonius in 142 AD. It was filled with great artistic details, and is still visible that not only a lot of attention was paid to the detail, but also a lot of money and manpower was spent in every part of the wall stretching from the Clyde to the Forth. They've placed all of these very important pieces of the wall which are still remaining, and what they've done here is they've tried to translate them, and from the translation they found that the Romans really did value and they admired everything that they did, especially in this area, because this was their frontier. So they wanted their place and their final frontier to look very nice, to be very nice, and to represent all of their Roman Empire and their glory, which is basically what most big empires do, even to this day. They try to make their borders look nice, and even their inside little borders that they have. So this was their final frontier, and the wall is very important because it was after this, technically there was no Roman territory. The Romans did go a bit further, but this was the land that they claimed fully until the Hadrian Wall. So all of these pieces signify this, and the translations show that they really did value all of this. The wall was shortly abandoned after 20 years in the early 160s AD, and the Hadrian Wall was again the frontier. The reasons for the abandonment are not agreed by historians. Some argue that it was too expensive to maintain and too far off for profitable settlements to be set up, while others argue that the purpose of the wall had already been achieved, which was to neutralize and Romanize the region between both walls.